There you go.
Yeah. What's up, Rob? How's it going?
It's going well. I got in here by the hair of my chinny chin chin. I don't know if it's summertime. I'm pretty sure it is. But one thing changes if you commute during summer, and that is traffic, right? So, like these odd
Uh-huh.
hours now, it was bumper to bumper. I had to take local streets, which I don't do normally. And yeah, I literally got in here right before I pressed record.
It's like, ew, traffic. I remember living
You
in
remember that,
SoCal.
right?
It's
Travis
yep.
from Southern California?
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
Yep. That's why you should move to NorCal, baby. All the benefits of California, but not as much traffic.
I like how you paused and slowed down there, right? Not as much. There's still traffic.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
fine.
Well, I felt like, oh, it's gotten to be worse over the last 8 years that I've been
Yeah.
here. But then I went to SoCal and I realized that got even worse.
Yeah, it's
So
getting worse everywhere for traffic. Yeah.
it's real bad.
Mm.
But yeah, so I just got back from a trip, and you
Yeah.
are
How was
about
your
to head
trip?
out for a trip.
Hmm.
It's summertime here. Welcome to summer, everybody. We did an epic one because we split up. So Deb and the baby went up the mountain towards like South Lake Tahoe,
Nice.
um, and she was there with her mom, hanging out at like a resort. And then I took the older two kids out to beach camp with friends of mine.
That's awesome.
So we went out to the coast. It was epic. NorCal coast is fun. Like it's beautiful. It's
Yeah.
gorgeous. And you drive on, PCH or
Oh, the
whichever it
coastal
is.
ride.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah. Oh, it's amazing. And the kids were just like, whoa, oh man, that's amazing. Just like
Yeah.
everything they're pointing at.
Hmm.
And usually when you split the family up a little bit, we were just talking about this, they will get more, they just are a little bit better behaved. It's funny. I'm
Mm. Mhm.
but once they're all in one space, they're just like, ha 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 ha. We
It's
can,
almost like they're fighting for attention, and then when you guys kind
uh,
of like divide and conquer, they realize I get to say I have a voice, right? So.
yeah, yep, yep. You got a big point there, and I think that's exactly what it is. So yeah, so we went out to the beach, and it was great because we ended up kind of changing plans, and we were there for like 4 days,
Yeah.
and we cut it a little bit early because my friends were feeling the same way. They were like, "Hey, we actually got to get back. One of us has to go to work again, like really early." So and when you're a family with young kids, you got to get a vacation from the vacation. So you got to
Yes.
rest once you get back because you're just
Yeah.
taking care of your kids somewhere else. So
Which almost makes it worse, right? Because at least at your home, you have the creature comforts. Like you know where all the books are and the toys, and even the kids know where the books and the toys are. But then all
yes,
of a sudden, you travel and it's not your bed, so to speak. You don't know what to do, so you're like time filling, and that gets exhausting.
straight up, And so when you're at the beach, that's kind of what I was feeling. I was like, you know what? This isn't necessarily a bad thing because then the question was I posed to the kids was like, hey, you want to go up the mountain and go see mama, and your sister? And they were like, yeah. But now, granted, we went west
I was gonna
for
say,
and a
yeah.
half hours, and they went east like almost 2 hours. And
Hmm.
so we ended up, these kids, they like 5 years old, 3 years old. They were like, we want to
Seasoned
go all the
veterans by
way,
now.
all the way. So we drove like 7 hours right
Oh
past the
my
house,
goodness.
basically right up the mountain. So we went from coast to the top of the mountain, the Sierra Nevadas,
Oh my
in
goodness.
one day. And then we enjoyed the mountains for 2 days.
There you go. How'd they take that drive, right? That's not like a short drive, right?
So if you want to learn from my mistakes, let me tell you, I tossed them in the car. They have their like little special car things because like we don't
Yeah.
give them like individual screens to play with at home. Really, if they get in the car though, or like if we go for a long drive, they can
Mhm.
use these like little like leapfrog like laptops. So they have like little
Nice, nice.
cameras
Yeah.
that have like I don't know why you can't buy a kid's camera these days that doesn't have like a bunch of mini games on it. Like I don't want it. I bought the camera. I just want them
I
to
just
take a
want a
picture,
camera.
and
Yeah.
it has like 85 functions and it's loud and it's
That's
annoying.
true.
That's
That's
a
true.
side note, so that's dumb. But
Let's pin that for now. Yeah.
yeah, I gave them the toys. They were looking down, like cool, and I gave them their lunch, and they ate their lunch, and we took the windy beach road down south, doo 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 for quite a while, and it didn't take long. I don't know how long it was. I don't know, maybe 20 minutes into the drive. And my 3-year-old, she's like, I'm not, my tummy hurts. And, that could
Yeah.
mean a million things. And I'm like, you're probably hungry. Like, do you need more food? She's like, I don't know. My tummy hurts.
Oh,
Like,
nice.
vomits
Yep.
all
Snacks and windy
over.
roads. Yep.
Yep. And the looking down. Like, I should have known. I should
Oh
have known
yeah.
better. This happened
Oh
to
yeah.
me as a
Especially
kid.
on any kind of tech. Oh yeah. Like all the time when we're driving stuff, or even my middle school, like, oh, Dad, you drive so chaotic, and I'm like, it's a straight line from school to home. Like, there's no winding turns. The whole time she's like on her phone. Like, well,
Yeah.
maybe if we don't look down on tech, we won't get dizzy, right? Well, I'm
Yep.
just catching up on my friends. I was like, I'm sure they'll be home there in 15 minutes when we get home. It's not like we're driving for 7 hours like you guys did.
Yeah. So, anyways, had to take a detour or a little side of a
Hmm.
road stop right off the coast. It was great.
Hey, not
And,
a bad place for a
because it
detour.
was just car sickness, I mean, she
Mm,
had just eaten that food. So it wasn't
yeah,
too stanky,
nice.
And at this point, we've done this before. So yeah, but I had to disassemble the car seat. I pulled her
Yeah,
out, changed
yeah.
her, used like 50 wet wipes. It was just
Oh
like
yeah.
trying to get all the gunk out of the cracks. And,
Yeah, that's
you
another
know,
thing. It's like if you're new to the minivan or family life in the car, wet wipes, lots and lots of wet wipes. It's like it's the ultimate Swiss Army knife for the car rides, right?
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. And I don't know what that was. Before we had kids, I hated wet wipes. The
yeah.
smell, everything about it, I
Oh
hated.
yeah. I just need a
But now,
tissue. I don't need something wet.
yeah, yeah. And so now it makes a lot of sense, though.
Yeah,
I guess because now it's a useful tool, then
yeah,
here we go.
yeah.
But anyways, yeah. So other than that, though, we jumped back in the car and they killed it. Like they did
Champs.
great. They barely slept, but they just kept going. And then
Wow.
we stopped like 4 hours in, and I was like, look, we can stop at home. Like we could go home, regather everything, and then go to sleep, and then wake up in the morning and go up the mountain. And they were
Mm.
like, no, let's go the whole way. And so
Oh
I'm
my
like,
goodness.
all
Teach
right,
me
if
the
you say
ways of the
so.
Jedi, sir, because there's no way that's passing. If we get close, like proximity to home, 2 out of 3 of my kids are like, is that home? I can feel it. And I'm like, yeah, technically we're close to home. We're going home. I don't want to go. Like if we're
But you
anywhere
see,
close.
there was also another powerful force at work. Mama was at the top of the mountain.
Gotcha. Yep. You
So
need the carrot. The carrot will
yeah,
work.
that was the ultimate carrot. So yeah, so we went up there and yeah, I did complain a little bit. I was a little saucy. And
Got it.
that should be its own podcast. I
Hey,
think we need to talk
post
about this on
hey,
the
post
podcast.
camping to do a 7-hour drive. Any dad or mom would be a little saucy, so it's fine.
Yeah, but this is the thing. Maybe we I don't know, maybe we segment into this. I had another idea, but it's a
Hey,
thought worth
you're the
worth pulling apart.
driver. I'm just on the school bus, sir.
You know, no, because this also ties in. I want to stick with what we got because
Okay.
I kind of want to play this out with you. So,
Okay.
okay, so okay, so we got back, but now you're headed out and
Yes.
you are going far away, right?
Yeah, we're gonna be on an airplane for a
Yes,
long time. For
long
yeah, like
time.
half a day. So yeah,
Yes,
yeah, getting ready for that. I guess it's kind of like the car trip, but we can't stop and take a break,
it's
right?
all in a big old tube for a
Yeah,
really
it's
long
on
time.
with a sardine can in the sky. So yeah, we are mentally preparing for that, physically, emotionally preparing for that, and that really comes down to just getting enough snacks. So
Oh yeah.
yeah,
Oh yeah, snacks are the answer to everything. If you
yeah,
guys don't know this already, that's the
yeah.
answer.
Especially if you're like your first time flyers with youngins, right? As adults, we forget because we can go 5 hour East Coast West Coast flight, take a nap, wake up. Hey, what happened, right? But with kids, it's like, oh, I don't feel so good. Could be a million things, like you said, but it's like I'm hungry. Okay, well, they've got like crackers and beef jerky. They're like, no, right? It's like, right. So
Yeah.
we made that mistake like the first trip, and it was just waterfalls for the entire time. Even though there was plenty of quote unquote food, it wasn't food that they liked. And then secondly, and I know you're going to transition into more, but an aha moment that we had is like, hey, we travel and we travel international. and some of our kids don't eat a lot of breadth of food choices. So why not bring food? Like literally, bring food that they eat at home that we can prep and make there. And so that's like our big aha that we're testing this time is we packed the mac, right? The mac and cheese. We got a bunch of boxes of that, a bunch of snacks that we know all the girls like. So no matter where we end up, it's like, oh, I'm hungry. Well, we're 30,000 feet up in the air. You know what? I just need hot water to make mac and cheese. Boom, done. Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's
Yeah.
coming up.
Yeah. And with, with time comes experience and
Mhm.
practice. You learn and you fail and well, and then they change their minds and they change all their preferences and then you just do it again. So,
Exactly. Exactly. So true.
but in line kind of with travel, but also it doesn't really have to be travel related. Here
Okay.
was the thought I had. We've got to stick to our time today, and
Hmm.
so we got things going on, fun summer activities,
Yeah.
afresh, and so I thought this could be a short episode, it could be a long episode. We'll kind of see, but
Yeah.
you don't know what's coming, so you're gonna have to think about it for a moment.
It's okay. I'm
But
a father of three. I think on the fly.
as I was as
Yeah.
I was driving, I was thinking about this. Um, I realized so I want to kind of do like a cost analysis with you in the sense
Okay.
of there are things that bring more value and less value, obviously, but
Mhm.
I think there are things that I often like, especially when we're traveling. I'm always
Mhm.
just like, do we need to? We don't have to spend this, or like,
Yeah.
that's expensive,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I
Yeah.
don't want to. Like, I can tend to be like a stick in the mud sometimes, and I don't want
Gotcha.
to be. And so I realized there are some things that are like fully worth the money.
Yes.
And they might seem expensive. So I'm
Yes.
curious for you, are there things that you found in your life that seem a little pricey, but are
Mhm.
well worth the value add? Whether that's a dad thing or just a you thing.
Mhm.
Um, and then on the other hand, what is something maybe that's like super cheap, but is also totally worth it?
Gotcha. I Great questions, and it's actually something that for years my wife and I kind of went back and forth, like looking after the trip, like what was worth it, not only financially, time wise, right? Like, did we really need to go there or do that? So if we stick to like the financial aspect of it, as far as return, and it's never going to be like a one to one, like oh, it was totally worth X amount of money, but in the hindsight, you're like, oh, we should have done this or paid a little extra to get that. So yeah, so first off, let's do last in, first out. The cheap end would be, like we said, snacks. That is such a headache saver to have foods and games and toys that are familiar to your kids, especially if you're traveling outside of the US, right? If we're going up to NorCal or going down to San Diego for the day or something like that, we can go to Target there, right? That we just go buy what we need. But if you're ever traveling internationally, like let's say like a couple of years ago, we went to Vancouver, even there, bringing stuff that's familiar to them helps the how smooth the day to day is, because most of the frustrations, at least in our family, it's because we're hangry, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
it's usually a hunger thing. And so instead of like dropping into a place you don't know, I don't know the ingredients, I don't know if they're going to eat that, because we also have some allergy stuff. So it's like I'd rather
yeah,
just pack it. So that's like the lowest hanging stuff. And here's another thing for our family that works. That's the cheap, and that is we don't over plan the day. We always have what we call quiet time. So it's
yep,
1 to 3 hours of not seeing the Arc de Triomphe, not traveling, eating at the best restaurant, all that. It's literally at the Airbnb hotel or wherever we're staying, uncle, auntie, grandparents, and doing nothing. Whatever they would vegetate at home doing, be it some Roblox time or maybe some art or drawing or maybe chatting with their friends, we do that when we travel. And it's because it's such a transitional point of our day at home that we need that when we travel. And when we don't, we notice gas tanks are empty before like 2 p.m.
yeah.
Right.
You're just asking for trouble as a
Oh, yeah.
parent.
Yeah.
Like,
So that
come on.
quiet time, we bring that with us. So those are my two like low ends. Travis, what are your like low end, cheap go tos as far as what you've learned over the years traveling? And then I'll talk
Well,
about like the price
yeah,
tag, like that's worth the upgrade.
yeah. You know, I I don't I'm trying to think because like so the one that you hit on, which I would fully agree with, and it's worth doubling up on, is snacks. Like,
Mhm.
because you also never know like what they're gonna like be like accept. I know it sounds crazy, but like if you're not a parent, it's easy to be like, oh, you just tell them
Yeah.
what they're gonna eat, and guess
Joke's
what?
on
Guess
you.
what,
Yeah.
buddy? That's not how it works.
Yeah. And it, like you
Um,
said, it changes. Like they could have had like butter pasta the night before. And then you're like, oh, that's going to be a go-to tonight traveling. And they're like, what is this? Butter pasta? I don't eat this. You're like, but we
yep.
just ate that. And that's one of your favorite foods. Not when I'm here. Like, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, kid. Yeah.
Yeah. My 3-year-old, she's like, ugh, uh, I don't like peanut butter, and it's like, wait, you love
You
peanut butter?
love peanut
And
butter.
she's like,
Yeah.
now I only love peanut butter when it's on an apple. Anything
Yes.
else, nope, won't eat it. So, anyways,
Yeah.
that is clutch, and that goes also for like when you have really young kids. That is huge for going on like just grocery shopping. Like if you have
Mhm.
to run errands,
Yes.
a shout out to my wife for that one because she's like, this is all you need is just make sure you got the snacks, and then boom, it works. So just keep them eating, and they will be much more pleasant and go with the flow.
Yes. Yeah.
So yeah, so that applies to anywhere. Um, but like this is what I was thinking about was like I will stress or like sweat the small stuff, but I
Mhm.
won't on the big stuff. And I wonder like if so I'm kind of like flushing this out with you, like in
Okay.
the sense of like, you know, like I don't think about how much it's going to cost in gas. It doesn't matter. Like
Mhm.
if the gas is 3.50 a gallon or the gas is
I'm not looking
4.60 a
for a gas.
gallon,
Yeah. I'm not looking for a
I'm
gas
like,
station that's cheaper.
well, I will always get gas at the cheapest spots.
Yeah. But
Don't get me
those
wrong,
spots. Yeah.
but yeah, but like the for the sake of the trip or whatever, like whatever, however much gas it takes to get there and back, like we're doing it. Like, oh, we're gonna go an extra spot while we're out there. Cool. I don't think about that, but like that's a tag on to whatever the cost is for the
Mhm.
entirety of the trip. Whereas on that trip, if I go to a place and I'm like, ugh, like that like for example, these are fresh examples while we were out. Like
Okay.
there's this big old like sprinkly cookie that
Mhm.
this at this bakery, and I was like, ooh, check and see how much those cookies
Looks
are.
good. Mhm.
And I told my wife, I was like, sub $5, like we could get one. If
Yeah.
it's over, we're not.
Yeah.
Like no
Yeah.
way. And so, but like I'm sweating like that
I'm
that two
hoping it's under
dollars,
5. Yeah.
right? So I'm like, yeah, like I want that cookie, but I'm only gonna get it if it's less than $5. So if
Mhm.
it's $4, that's cool. It ended up being $2, which was great. I was like, get two cookies.
Mhm.
Um, so like I'm sweating over $2 difference,
Mhm.
but that's great. Now I might also do that then with my kids too. One of the things that drives me nuts that I don't like is every time we end up at like a Starbucks on our trip, the kids have
Mhm.
equated like, oh, I want to get a cake pop, and those cake
Yeah.
pops are like highway robbery to me. I'm like, it's one
Yes.
bite and it's $4.
Yep.
Like, no, thank you.
I
So I get
want you
all
to lick
I get
that
all
K-pop.
upset. Yeah, I get all upset about that. I'm like, oh, I could also just crumble $4 up, $3 up, and throw it away for the what's
Or I can get some Hostess cupcakes and literally make a ball out of it and stick
Yep,
it on a skewer. There
yeah.
you go.
We can make
Yeah.
our own cake pop.
Mhm.
So $2,
Yeah.
right? But I'm not thinking about, oh, like I'll drive a whole extra day to go do an activity, and then I'm spending an extra $30 on that.
Mhm. Mhm.
Right. So I guess maybe the question is like, is it worth it? Is it not to
You
like
know
sweat
what?
those things?
I
You
think it's
know?
I think it's different for every family. So I know where you're going, and I'll
Yeah.
play along with this. I think it has to do with priorities and per family per trip, and the trips change, right? Like a camp trip versus traveling to Vegas, the priorities of the trip might be different. So I can use what my family has kind of concluded over the years, or at least where we're at now, and it could change in the future. Is when we first started traveling, like we were very frugal, and this was when we weren't visiting grandparents, like when we were traveling on our own as a single family,
Yeah.
versus now when we travel with families. So there's multiple families traveling, or we travel to see family, so it's never just like solo. So I guess both would be slightly different. So when we travel with families, we end up cooking a lot, And so we shared the cost of going to a Costco or a grocery store, and we kind of divvy it up amongst the families. And that's how we
Yep.
cut the cost versus the actual flights or driving out there. Whatever the cost is, right? We're not going to penny pinch there. We're going to penny pinch once we're there. And so that kind of plays into even when traveling like overseas, seeing grandparents, or when we travel a single family, where we actually are willing to pay more on is the actual travel experience. And what I mean by that is we don't travel very often on these big trips, maybe once a year. And during the year, we do like overnights, right? Locally or friends and camping. And so we save up our money to pay for the flight overseas or to pay for a nicer Airbnb because sleep's important to us, right? Comfort in a can for 12 plus hours is very important. So I'd rather spend that. And then wherever we're at, hey, you want to pick up McDonald's? Great. We can get McDonald's for dinner tonight. You want to go to the street vendor? Awesome. Right. And so that's where we make up the difference is while we're there, we don't need these grand, Michelin star dinners. I mean, we got kids, like little kids. They don't want to need that anyways. So
Yeah.
we pay for what's important for us when we're traveling longer distance. It's the actual travel part of it, be it maybe the car rental is a little bit nicer, right? It has doors on the car versus like a Jeep or something like that. And so we will pay for the actual travel part of it. Once we're there, yeah, we're hanging out with grandma and grandpa. They can pay for dinner if they want to go someplace nice, but we're going to the mall, right? So that's kind
Yeah.
of for us the actual travel time. That's where we'll upgrade a little bit, right? Spend a little bit more money. Whereas when we're at the locations, yeah, it's gonna feel like home, but it's a new location.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, I hear you. And that's I am all about that. I mean,
Mhm.
it's especially with kids, this is what we have learned is, it's so much more worth it to like just spend the extra in order to yeah, I mean just
To make
it
them
can be
comfortable, right? To make
yeah,
everything comfortable during
yeah.
those long hours, it's worth it.
If you've done like a 10-hour flight with like a baby on the lap, like just there's like this point where you're like, are we gonna make it? Will we be will we
Is it too late to turn the plane around?
yeah.
Right? Yeah.
So yeah, yeah. For sure, for sure. Um so I was trying to think if there was anything that even isn't even like it's not related to travel,
Hmm.
but it's worth the investment or not worth the investment.
Mm.
In the sense of just what are you those things, even in the day to day, that are like, wow, that was easy and that
Yeah,
was
yeah.
great, you know?
I think for us, anything around like I know it sounds like it makes sense, but safety and security, like so, like with three kids, some of them like scooter to school, some of them bike to their friend's house. So like we have air tags, right? Like we track where our kids go. We don't track like
Yeah,
their text messages and stuff like that.
yeah,
But we let them know, like, hey, I just want to know, like, if you're going to leave at 2 p.m. to come home and your AirTag doesn't move, you're going to get a text from dad at 2 p.m. Do you need me to pick up? Right? It's just from love and concern. It's not like this is a dictatorship. So when it comes to that kind of stuff, like we will pay a little bit more versus like the off brand where like I think the battery died or I don't know where it is or it doesn't work within 20 feet. So that kind of stuff. Even when they were babies and we got like the baby monitors, we would
yeah,
get the slightly higher end. So if we were to go outside or on the porch, it would still work, right? So those kind of things we tend to pay a little bit more for because we know it is a direct correlation to the price. If you get a little bit cheaper, it'll break down more. Maybe the warranty's not as good. So tech stuff and safety and security, we might upgrade. Everything else is pretty much like we are price shopping. Like if we don't need to because there's no direct difference, right? So for instance, like branding of a certain type of food, like oh, Dad, I really want burger and fries. Okay, we can go in and out. We don't need to go to XYZ restaurant, sit down because you're still going to take all the vegetables off your burger and you just want cheese anyways, right? So like that kind of point, like I don't need to pay $12 for that, whereas I
yeah,
can pay $2.95. And so there are spots, but mainly it's around tech and safety and security and just making sure everyone's good that will pay for. Whereas like the day-to-day stuff, if it's literally just because of like an experience, then we'll look for the price point that matches that experience, right? Like, oh, I want a new stuffy toy. Okay, we don't need like the $40 version from Costco. Like we can go into Target, right? You got a gift card. Let's take a look. So
Yeah.
that's the difference as far as the scaling on price for us on the day to day.
Yeah. Yeah. That made me think of like there are things that are worth investing in and things that are not worth it. Like feel like the very first one when we first got married was like
Mm-hmm.
everybody was like, get a good mattress. Like
Mm-hmm.
you're spending 1/3 or more of your life. You're spending a third of your life
I would
in the
agree.
bed.
I would agree.
And we like, I guess they lasted, it's like 10 years, right? So we're
Yeah,
past that now. I'm like, oh dang, we're at that point. It's about
it's
to
time.
gonna have to,
Yep, save
upgrade
up some
again.
money for that.
It's
Yeah,
getting a little
mattresses are not cheap.
squishy,
Yeah, you
but
wonder why we keep rolling towards the center together. Like, yeah, that's why.
but I mean, like, think about it. Like, would you rather like? I know it's hard in the moment, especially if you don't have the cash on hand. Like, that's a very
Yes,
real thing, right?
yes.
But like, if you
But
think
you can, but
about
you can
like an
plan for
extra,
it, right? You can
yes,
plan for it.
yes,
So
an extra $500 for like over the
yeah,
span of 10 years is not much,
yeah,
and
we're
it means
talking
a lot
pennies.
more,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. But on the other hand, like there there are there are probably there's a plethora of different people listening to this,
Hmm.
right? So, if you guys can't already tell, like, for myself, the fanciest place we go to, and it's pretty much our go-to, is Chili's. We're like, yeah, we going to
We're dining
Chili's.
out tonight.
Yeah, we getting fancy, y'all. Now, like every once in a while, right? Granted, like that's family, right? There,
Mhm.
so Deb and I will go out on a date and go somewhere else. But
Yeah.
still, it's like just like we're not.
You have to count the mouths to feed, right? That's where it starts to tally up. So
Yes, yes. But there are other people who have the capacity, right? So
mhm,
I could also see some parents listening to this and being like, "You're crazy." Like, for them, right? If money is not necessarily an issue,
mhm,
um, I, there's a friend of a friend. I won't say who because for me, I'm like, "You're crazy," but also like it means more to them. So
mhm,
so they'll drop like a couple thousand a month on DoorDash, Uber
mhm, mhm,
Eats, like everything just shows up at the door. So
mhm,
you're not having to go anywhere, you're not having to make anything.
mhm,
So you're
mhm.
saving that time back. So I mean, I could see why some people might say like, hey, that's the go-to, like save yourself time. Or people who pay to have the house clean,
Mhm.
stuff like that. Like, shoot dang, there, like if you have the capacity and you can
Yeah,
save yourself time
and I think
as a
it's
parent, I
cost,
guess.
right? Cost
Yeah.
versus time. And for some people, time is harder to get than cost, right?
Yep.
And so that's why. Whereas others, like, well, I have the time, and cost is more important for me, so I'm going to clean the toilets, right? Like, I'm not
Yep.
going to hire someone to do it. So I
Yep.
think at that season of life and where they are financially, like for them, time might be the priority, right? Like, hey, I could cook, a three-course meal for 4 or 5 people at home, but I also know that takes me 2 hours, right? Food
Yep.
prepping, washing dishes, where it's like, no, I know the kids eat this. We like this restaurant, so we're going to order it.
Yeah.
And we budgeted for that because
Yep.
we're not buying groceries and cooking, 5 nights a week. So,
As long, yeah, I like the way that you are able to scale this in your head too. Is
mhm,
like you're already thinking, yeah, like on a scale. So it
mhm,
doesn't matter. It doesn't matter the price point
mhm,
per family. The whole point is it in your budget? Do you have the capacity?
mhm.
Yes or no? And then if not, then here's how we adapt.
Yes.
Right.
Mhm,
So going into this conversation, I love this because I was going and I'm like really getting into the nitty gritty of the price, right? Like,
mhm,
so for me, this is a good example. And something that I was going to bring up was I have realized over the years that it is well worth, like I used to be like the kind of guy that I would see a bag of coffee on the shelf and it's like,
mhm,
okay, if it's like $12 or less, like I'll get the coffee. But
mhm,
nowadays I've come to enjoy coffee so much and like really dove into the science of
mhm.
making it and all that. Like I I can appreciate a better coffee and it is well worth it for me to buy an $18 bag. Where
Mhm.
old me would have been like, are you crazy? But for me, it's like, well, it's a $4, $5, $6 difference, but
Mhm.
you are getting like 8 times the value
Yeah, and you can
in that.
tell the difference, right? You can tell the difference. Kind of like going with cheap mattress, expensive mattress. If you can't tell the difference, then you can't justify the cost. Like, no, we're
Yeah.
sleeping on the same thing. But because you are a kind of a connoisseur of coffee now, like, no, it's worth not to drink mud. I got it.
Yep. Yep. And for some people, that doesn't matter. So
Mhm,
going back to like like the whole scale thing, I love
mhm.
this. I love this, Rob. Thank you for bringing this into perspective for all of us. Is I guess, yeah, it all comes down to scale and your budget and
Mhm,
what's a thing. Now for me, I'm talking coffee, I'm talking cookies,
mhm.
because right now, yeah, well, not necessarily do I have the time, but I definitely have more time than I have money, so I'm gonna be
Then you
trying
use
to
the time.
do
Yeah,
stuff
then you use the
with the
time.
time,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
So yeah, yeah. So then maybe that's a question too for the people out there. This is more of we won't have an answer because everybody's out there listening and they
Yeah.
can't speak to us right now. But what do you need more of, or what do you not have? Do you not have the time, or do you not have the money or the finances or whatever to do it? So how can you lean into one or the other to, provide the best value for
Yeah,
your family?
I'd love to hear on how you guys, like Trav said, scale it, right? So it's like, hey, if I have the time, okay, then what are you spending the time on? Like, what are you doing that could help other parents out, other dads out? Or if you don't have the time, but you found like a financial, like coupons or gift card hack, like let us know. Like that's also another way to use finances and kind of extend it out, right? So yeah, let us know.
And maybe it's a trade-off.
Yeah.
What do you need to trade? So this, like I said, I wanted this to be an analysis, so you can
Mhm.
do this at home too, or in the car, or whatever you're doing right now. Is uh, think through, okay, because you might be in the spot where you're like, I don't have the time or the money. Like I'm just
Yeah.
trying to make ends meet.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to show up.
Mhm.
Like, and if you're in that position, then we're glad you're here.
Mhm.
And also, where can you? I appreciate Rob does this really well. Is where can you find margin and maybe some of those little things, right?
Mhm.
So I've realized you can waste time just as much as you can waste money, and
Yes.
they actually, the example like works so well for both.
Mhm.
So you can spend time, you can spend money, you can waste time, you can waste money. So,
Mhm.
I realize like, oh, I feel like I don't have time. Well, I'm wasting time on my phone. So I can
Mhm.
knock that time down. Okay, maybe I gotta put up a barrier. I gotta add a control because I don't have the mental fortitude, right? So I got this app that like crosses me out of the social media.
Like
So
it,
I
like
literally
it.
physically can't do it, right? Um, you can also, like, for some people they've had to go to like the envelope system for money, right? It's like
Mhm.
like no, I'm not going to use the credit card right now because I can't
I
control
like
that.
that. Yep.
So break out the cash, like go old school if you need to.
Mhm.
Some people might not even accept cash now, I'm sorry.
So
But
true.
you can use Apple Pay. You can like just load up your Venmo or whatever,
Yeah.
and then there you go. So yeah, so you can, and then maybe you find, like, as you're doing your budget, that you're spending way more than you thought on coffee and you really wanted to go out for a meal, or vice versa. Maybe you're like, I just wish I could have a cup of coffee every day, because I'm like
Mhm.
on the struggle bus. Well, maybe you go out 3 times, like one
Mhm.
time instead of three, or maybe you go to Chili's instead of, PF
Yeah,
Chang's.
or
There's like some
like
bougie,
for
I don't know.
us,
PF
at a
Chang's is a
period of
bad
time for
example.
coffee, because yeah, we were coffee snobs around here too. Is for periods of lull where we don't have the financial means for that $5-6, cortado, twice a week. Well, that's $12. You can buy a $12 bag of beans, which will last you 2 weeks. Right. So during those seasons of lull, you make it spread. You still enjoy your coffee, but there's that trade off. And then when there's highs, yeah, go get Starbucks a couple times a week, knowing that, hey, I've earned this and I saved up and I can do a little bit more. And it takes a little bit of effort. Yeah, you need to break down your finance and stuff like that, but it can be done. That's the thing. It's not all or nothing. There's a gray area that if you kind of work out and massage, you'll notice that you can, still enjoy the simple joys of life without spending for the full ride, so to speak.
Absolutely, absolutely. And there are a lot of this is one thing that I wasn't raised with that I've gotten a
Mhm.
little better at thanks to Deb, but utilize that like ease of like refund and
Mhm.
return that we have these days to test the waters too. I
Mhm.
mean, I I don't know. I was almost I guess maybe we all were to an extent because it wasn't as easy back then, but raised more on like if you bought it, you got it.
Yeah.
Like that's it. You know, like
You
you
don't
use it.
return this?
You don't
No.
return stuff.
No.
But these days, like if you're shopping at Costco, you're shopping at Amazon,
Oh, yeah.
you can
They
probably
make it
return it.
easy.
Yeah. So, maybe you want to try coffee and get a coffee maker. And maybe you don't need the most expensive one. Does the cheap one give you the taste that you want? Oh, there you go. Or maybe it doesn't. Okay,
Mhm.
return it. Try
Yeah.
something else.
Yes.
That's something that I wish I would have like I don't know leaned into a lot more earlier. Just be like, yeah, like just test it out. Like we just don't have like these storefronts like we used to, so it's
No.
not a bad thing. Now, I mean, if we're talking about like cardboard and all that, then yeah, so like, it doesn't seem as renewable to an extent. How much cardboard can we make? But that's just the woodworker thinking of all of our natural resources and such. rabbit hole, rabbit hole. I digress.
I like it. I like it.
I'm blabbing. So, any other thoughts in regards to, things that you found value in as a parent?
No, I
Maybe
think
that
I think all parents, maybe knowingly or unknowingly, have that list, and I would say it would be a fun exercise to do with your partner, your spouse, to kind of sit down and go through where do we want to spend money and where do we want to save money, right? Not being frugal, but where do we want to save money, just so that we're both on the same page, and then have a couple of those big things for the year to look forward to. So this is the reason why I'm brewing my own coffee. It's because we got a Florida trip over the summer, right? Like that's what I really want. That's what I want for the family. So during those times of kind of hunkering down as a family, there's a reason for that, right? And everyone's on the same page for that. At least for us, that's really helped out during those times. We're like, man, we're having ramen again. It's like, yeah, because we're gonna go out for your birthday, right? And your birthday, you want to go to this restaurant with your friends, so we're gonna have ramen a couple times. So
and there you go. And there you go. And that's our time for today because
excelente, awesome.
we
We
gotta
got
cut
things to
out. We
do.
got
It's
important
summertime.
things to do. You guys are important too, but you know what? As we all do, we gotta get that stuff done.
Mm-hmm.
So happy. Well, this will be released on a Thursday. So happy Thursday or whenever it is that you're listening to this.
Yeah, exactly.
Happy day. Happy
Happy
day
day.
to you, good fellow folks out in the interwebs. And we'll see you next time.
Yep.
As per the usual, we are not professionals.
No, we're not gurus. We're
We
just
are
two
just
dads
two dads in
in
real
real
life.
life.